Hi everyone, this is Sydney Graff and this is my Module 3 video. So what child find procedures are you familiar with or which ones are used? So when I asked my administrator, it was really interesting to look at his face and see his initial reaction to the question. He took some time to process the question and then he let me know that some of our early interventions, so to say, that are used at our school are that, we have the Title I program. We are a school-wide Title I school. We have parents as teachers within our district, and then we also have early childhood programs that he knows are also effective. So the special education teacher, a little bit of a different approach. Theirs is more, testings, procedures, things like that that we use to kind of get data, things like that. She said that, we have things like Count Your Kitten, which is more for like the early childhood ages. We use dibbles within our district, and along with the dibbles, we progress monitor the kids. We use the PAST, the QPS, those are the phonemic awareness and quick phonics screeners. The dial, that might be seen more at testing, initial testing for a child at a lower level, like a pre-K level. And then the schools within our district also use STAR testing. This is done 3 times throughout the year school-wide, but it can be done at any time. The para, she kind of laughed when I asked her this question, and then when she thought about it, she responded with, the dibbles that our title uses, the STAR testing. She talked about the beginning and the end of the year tests that we do for our reading and math curriculums that are currently being used. And then she talked about our student intervention team as well. Some of them were similar responses, but I found it interesting that with this particular question, they were all a little bit different. What do you find to be the most challenging part of your role with regards to special education? My administrator laughed, and then he said, laws, rules, regulations, policies, and procedures, all of it. And it never seems to quite stay the same. He said that's obviously challenging because if you get a parent who's upset or, a general education teacher and a special education teacher who aren't agreeing with something, and he believes he knows what the latest rule or law is, so to say, on what's occurring, and then come to find out that may not be true. The special education teacher, she told me that the most challenging part of her job was meeting the needs of every student's level. It takes a lot of time, a lot of preparation to do this. Sometimes there's multiple grade levels within one classroom and multiple curriculums being taught all at once, and finding out how to juggle it and get each child what they need. The paraprofessional said her most challenging part is to know how to handle behaviors correctly. You might think you're doing a great job in the moment, and then you second guess everything that you did. You try to reference your training that you've had, talk to your supervisor about it, but every child's different, and so you're always questioning if what you're doing is the right thing when it comes to behaviors. And getting the right kids placed in a timely manner. She said that when she's in a classroom, we're working with specific students, even though you're kind of working with the whole classroom. But she would devote more of her time to one of the special education students rather than other kids. And then, maybe finding out 3 weeks later that, oh, actually, this child needs some serious help. But, it's not until months later that they're officially in special education, so that she feels equipped to kind of jump in and help them accordingly. What is the most rewarding part of your job? The administrator said that when working with the students, it's watching them grow in their confidence. A lot of times when they get that extra support, or maybe they're pulled into the special education classroom, their confidence just grows, and he loves seeing that in them. For the parents, it's being able to sit in on those IEP meetings and tell them how much their child has progressed. Maybe they don't need to come in the special education classroom anymore, or maybe they're going to get exited completely. He said that is the most rewarding part so far that he's had. And other teachers is when they compliment the teamwork. He said it is the greatest thing to hear, whether it be a special education teacher or a general education teacher, come to him and talk about a student who has maybe been difficult lately, and to just say that since everybody's on the right page, they're doing great. A SPED teacher, most rewarding part, student successes, happy parents, knowing that you're doing your job appropriately and in a way that it's making the parents happy. And then working with other teachers is when another teacher can see that what you're doing together is helping the child grow. It's a two-way street, and it's going to take a team to help some of our kiddos grow. The para said that her favorite part when dealing with the SPED students is that light bulb moment and knowing that she's taken a part in it in some way. With the parents is seeing how much their child trusts in them, and then in turn, they get their appreciation or their respect, and it could be even just a single compliment of saying, hey, thank you so much. And then working with the teachers, she said she really appreciates it when a teacher looks forward to her coming into their classroom, um, and appreciates her help. And when she's gone, they're like, where were you? So she said that always lets her know that she's definitely impacting more than just the students when she's in there. What advice do you have on supervision of SPED staff? The administrator, he told me, again, laws, rules, regulations, policies, and procedures. Just make sure that those are happening and make sure that they're being followed through with and carried out with fidelity. The special ed teacher said, keep an open mind, always put the students first. I absolutely loved that. It's so important to always have those students first. My para, she does work for me, so I am technically her supervisor. So she was joking a little bit and told me that I needed to bring her donuts every day. But she said communication is huge. Talking about the students' needs, maybe about their home life as things come up that might impact their academics or their behaviors for the day. And then also explain to them the changes, explain the whys. Why am I maybe changing your schedule for the day, or why am I changing it permanently? Just keeping that open line of communication and explaining everything. How do you work effectively with parents of special needs children? The administrator, he told me to let them know that their voice and their opinion is being heard and that their child does matter. They are cared about, even though they may be a little bit more of a difficult child, or maybe they just learn differently. They do matter. The special education teacher said have good, real, authentic, frequent communication with the parent. Um, there's no need for the sugar sort of sprinkles on top of things. Um, a lot of times she said she's discovered that if a parent has a special needs child, they're not oblivious to it and they don't want all the fluff, so to say. They want it given to them straight, but in a professional way. The paraprofessional, she said to follow the instructions of my supervisor. And she said to try to stay uninvolved if possible. She was referring to this of when it comes to, a very, very specific question, or maybe a behavioral question or an academic question. If they're just there for a classroom party with small talk, that's different. But when it correlates with their child learning, she said she's going to try to stay as uninvolved as possible. So working with regular ed teachers with students, the administrator said to make sure those IEPs are being followed and carried out and to just always collaborate with one another. For the SPED teacher, she gave lots of examples. She talked about communicating openly, giving them examples of ways that they can effectively work with them, showing them student work samples, show them what they're doing in your classroom, give them a snapshot of the IEP, and always answer their questions, even if you have to get to it later. The para said to again follow the instructions of our supervisor, but also to follow the instructions of the gen ed teacher and to work with both sides so that the child can get what's best for them. What advice do you have for a first-year teacher? My administrator said to be very humble. Let your pride down. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Make sure you take the time to listen so that you can then respond appropriately, and then to be patient. Special education teacher, she, without skipping a beat at first, said, "Don't do it." And then she kind of laughed a bit and said, "Patience." And then the para also said patience. This was the only question that I found a very, very direct correlation with their answers. And they were so simple, but so on point. And they all referenced patience. How do you describe the role of the special education teacher and the building principal? The administrator said it's the SPED teacher's job to follow the IEP, make sure it is being carried out and followed through with fidelity in all school settings. And then the principal said that his job was to oversee all areas of the building and make sure that all students are making progress. The special education teacher said that it depends on the teacher's area, maybe the classroom type or the types of students that they're teaching. Advocate for all of your kids, be a resource for the building, for your parents, anybody who would need it. And the principal's job is to be an advocate for all students, be a role model, act as the way that you would want your staff to act, and to listen to all sides of a story, listen to everything that's coming at you before making a decision. And the para said that the teacher makes sure that each student's needs are met at their pace and level, and that it is the principal's job to oversee all of the students and staff in a way that will help set everyone up for success. So what characteristics do you seek in aspiring administrators in regards to special education? My principal said to be thorough, be open, and don't be afraid to grow professionally, as it is an ever-changing line in our work. The SPED teacher said to have openness. Make sure you follow through with what is being said. Don't ever commit to anything that you can't follow through with. And be willing to work with students that are in the classroom, whether that be the special education classroom or the general education classroom. The para said to be supportive of everyone and everything. Make sure you're following through with each child, not just some, and make sure you're on the same page with everyone, and please, please, please communicate. So my thoughts and my projections about myself as a future administrator in regards to special education, always, always put the student first. That is why we're there. That's why we're in this line of profession. Those kiddos have IEPs, those legal documents, for a reason. And so those need to be carried out with fidelity. I will be present at those meetings. That's one of my responsibilities as an administrator. And my signature will be on that document. So I am just as responsible for making sure that it's being carried out. Communicating with my staff, communicating with parents, even communicating with students, modeling for them how I want things to be done. If there is a situation that I feel could maybe be done a little bit differently, modeling it for them, and then to be organized. Organization is key, making sure that I can count back my steps. I know exactly where they are. I can find data easily, and I can pull things out on a fly if I need to. So being organized would be very helpful with that. So thank you all for watching, and I look forward to watching all of your videos.